Yesterday was a bit of a mixed bag of dystopian and hopeful news to get us to emotionally react. And Joakim Skog, you gave us our first lesson. Tell us, what are we going to do today?
So today we are once again going to ask ourselves, what if? And why do we do that? Because we need to prepare for the future. We cannot predict the future, but we can immerse ourselves in stories about the future based on signals, facts, evidence that we see around us today. And combining that with some creativity, we do have a chance to actually step into the future and have a feeling about what it could be like. So now we're going to take a short time travel into the future. It's time for a commercial break from the future.
It's no secret that having children today is difficult. Before we make that decision, we really need to think it through. What kind of child do I want? How can I have a child with minimal impact on our climate, but great value for me? We now make that difficult decision easy. The baby builder is born. Thanks to our unique service, you can choose your future child's interests and political values and avoid those awkward discussions in the future. Elite athlete, politician, or CEO. The baby builder is equipped with the latest technology so you can control your child's career. Have the child you've always dreamed of without sacrificing your body or your career. All babies produced by us are highly resistant to disease, and we guarantee they will be free of fever and colds for the first 7 years. The longing will soon be over. Start dreaming of a life with your perfect child today. The Baby Builder babies have a maximum life expectancy of 55 years. Government certification is required for increased longevity. Order today to take advantage of the offer with delivery within 24 hours. Maximum 1 order per household. We disclaim all further responsibility should your future child be affected by external factors or not turn out as desired.
So what did that feel like?
Can you order too?
There might be a special coming up. Any gut feelings? Any reactions? Actually, you guys that you just watched this, I'd like you to go to the chat, because there's a chat in the stage room here. Say hello to your fellow viewers, introduce yourselves, and share whatever feelings this short commercial break gave you. What about your feelings?
We have a baby coming here, an actual baby.
We do.
How does it feel when it's so close to home?
Terrifying and wonderful at the same time. How can you love a second child as much as your first? That's an easy answer to that, of course, when I hold the baby in my arms. But looking at that video, and I was like thinking, I have a 4-year-old at home, sick all the time, you know, kindergarten flus and everything. And I was like, oh, just to have a break from that would be amazing. But I wouldn't design it. The surprise would be gone.
What about you?
Well, I was laughing when I was looking at it, because that is kind of how my daughter sees the world, because she would love a little sister. So she has ordered one, and she's quite specific in what she wants. So when we were talking yesterday about signals, I don't think she would have as much of a challenge as I do in like typing in, this is what I want. And I don't know if it's generational or just the child's naive version of what the reality looks like. And then my spiritual side goes, this happens, but in the spiritual realm, which is I've chosen my daughter on a higher level, but I haven't clicked the buttons. So some part of me goes, yeah, this is just the UX of what already happens.
And actually in the real world also, not saying that the spiritual world does not exist, but in the real world, this has already happened. So this is designed to be very provocative, as I hope some of you guys out there feels. But it's also, this has already been done. CRISPR, gene manipulating, and things like that. So it's not really, well, one part of it was that we can deliver your child. That requires some bioreactors and stuff like that, which might be a bit into the future. Not totally impossible though. So it's built on signals, meant to provoke feelings, and it's really interesting to see that both of you had both a dystopian and utopian sense of this, that it was not only dark. I can reveal that this has been really, us producing this has also been, I mean, it's been questioning ourselves. Is this too provocative.
Oh, are we allowed to show this?
Kind of, yes, kind of. I mean, are we? But it's meant to be provocative, so it's a good thing. It should induce feelings, and I hope to see the chat in a while and see whatever feelings you guys out there have as well.
But the philosophical problematic issue, which comes back to where Lisen started, which is we need to do something within the planetary boundaries. This type of technology or this type of thinking fundamentally means that we believe that we are the primary species on the planet. We have the arrogance and the ability to create ourselves, the ecosystem, and it also implies that we think that we can change the ecosystem damage that we've already done because of our superiority. And I think this superiority discussion is actually more problematic than this actual baby.
Yeah, super interesting also, because when you work, this is an example of speculative design, which is a methodology within Foresight. And we've been working with speculative design at Vinnova. We had a call with 11 projects exploring different futures, alternative futures, in a future where climate change had affected us in some way. Prototypes from the future. And actually, the dialogue that follows the experience of a prototype in this case, or a scenario like this, that's what's important. The insights and the dialogue, and what do we do about these insights, the feelings that occurs, and also what kind of future do we want to have. And that's why we're doing this, because we're asking ourselves, we cannot predict the future. It's impossible to predict the future. We can predict the weather. We can try to predict the weather. We can try to predict the weather like 48 hours ahead. That's about it, right? But predicting the future just 5 years ahead, you shouldn't try to do that. What we need to not predict, but be prepared. And by exercising our future thinking skills, by, for instance, watching these kinds of scenarios, or touching a physical artifact visiting us from the future in the present, that gives us a sense of preparedness that's needed in order to develop these future thinking abilities.
What was the most surprising reaction that you got to this video?
So actually, the videos we show at Sweden Innovation Days are brand new and are having their world premiere here.
Okay.
Except for this one, because we did have a preview at a Bifrost Summit event in Silicon Valley just 2 weeks ago, and the reactions, and we had a live audience for that viewing, and it was totally surprising. People laughed. Perhaps something being in the room together, perhaps a bit insecureness, but
or absurdity.
It's absurd, absolutely, and some humor in it. Also interesting to see that the first reactions were like appalled, and then in a few minutes, some said that actually we could use CRISPR for good things. So it's not only like it's a complex issue, and the dialogue that followed was just what we wanted to. We wanted to have a provocation that ended up in a dialogue and people being really constructive in the way they approached the future.
I want to still go down one level deeper to the core of this, the emotional trigger, because at some point you at Vinnova felt that the analytical approach to this isn't enough. We need something further to move the needle. Is that correct?
Yeah, well,
because there's no lack of reports, there's no lack of data,
so,
there's no lack of actual understanding.
So, coming back to the IPCC report that came out Monday, some of us, some can really translate that into like, okay, this is really bad. We have 7 years. That's it. Final call. But we could also, there are so many types of humans out there. We need to address everyone because it's all hands on deck regarding the societal challenges. So how do we do that? Well, we can speak to human emotions and try to get that sense of urgency.
You're manipulating us.
Well, no, we're just kickstarting. We need to have...
That's what they all say, the manipulators.
We're trying to to talk about it. We have to talk about these things. And without just saying 1.5 degree or 2 degrees, it's to me, it's I cannot really grasp what that means.
No, exactly, because in time, in 7 years or 2 good degrees, I wonder there is an extreme complexity to it, right? How will we even internalize that?
Yeah. But walking into a future, what if we just redesigned a fair, like a big a house being set into the future where you could actually experience a 2 degree warming event happening? That would be interesting. Perhaps a next project to showcase next year or something like that.
Yeah, a delegation from Brussels, from Washington, from Beijing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So yesterday we talked about signals and drivers. This movie was based on a few signals. I mentioned a few of them: CRISPR, bioreactors, and things like that. And then we have drivers. That's more long-term trends that we combine into scenarios. And you had an experience. Yesterday we had a question regarding what's your needed skills in 2035, and your immediate reaction was. What was that?
Yeah, it was to be able to be self-sufficient.
Yeah, and then 3 hours later, you wanted to rephrase that into...
I need to hone my parenting skills so my children can become self-sufficient and understand that they're living in a world that has a sliding scale. They need to be different, so I need to be a different parent.
Cool, interesting. And that's also part of the journey we make, and also what the journey you did yesterday, experiencing the day first of Sweden Innovation Days. So today we're going to, if you're not able to unlock that potential of the future, we should look back to look forward. And it's a really easy tool. I'm going to fast forward this tool lesson in just it's about having a timeline, looking back to see the developments in order to unlock your potential to look into the future. So for instance, if you look into today we're talking about sustainable cities, for instance. We could talk about waste management. That's a huge part of sustainable cities and societies. So if we look back like a few thousand years, we go back to Romans. They had cloaks and things like that. It sounds kind of advanced, being like 2,500 years ago, but it was actually really messy. We shouldn't go into details what kind of mess it was, but it was not healthy. It was actually dangerous. Okay, so fast forward to Sweden in the 60s. The other day I watched a movie about waste in the archipelago, being out sailing. And at first you think that, oh, good, they're going to tell us to take the garbage to a recycling station or something like that. No, they're telling us, put everything into a carton box, put stones in it, and drop it in the sea. Then it's like, that's a good thing. So that was actually...
Out of sight, out of mind.
Gone.
So do your timeline, look back, whatever topic you have, look back to see that, okay, so we really developed. And then you perhaps see that change is possible. And you can do this for yourself as well. Just put you into like age 0, and you can see that, okay, I really developed, I've progressed. What's next? And you could do this exercise for yourself.
Well, I was thinking about it, and I wanted to do an opposite exercise.
Okay.
How little has happened over time as a useful tool in the green transition. You look skeptical.
No.
But I was
listening.
discussing with a conservative boomer who gave me the one-liner phrase regarding the transition: we don't want to move back to the Stone Ages, which is a one-liner that you hear sometimes about how the fossil-free economy will throw us back to the Stone Ages.
Yeah.
So I asked this boomer, how about if you live the life that you led 1990? And she was like, 1990 is fine. I had a lovely life in 1990. And then we could, with stats, look at the huge difference between 1990, 2000, 2010 to 2020 in terms of emission. But her mental mindset was she led a fantastic life 1990, and going back to that style would be zero infringement of her life.
Yeah.
Therefore, this transition might not be as bad as she thought.
That's interesting. Okay, so maybe that's another tool we should
Yes.
work with.
Anchoring, it's not as bad as you think, the progress that has happened.
So, Futures Thinking University, heavily inspired by Institute for the Future, which is something else I will talk about tomorrow, have introduced signals, driving forces, scenarios, and look back to look forward. Now, I'm going to leave you with another question. We're going to ask you that the rest of this day, I would like you in the audience, as well as you guys, to think about we're going to this topic today. We like that, right? Some need that kind of energy. Given the topics we covered today, what's the worst case scenario the world could look like in 2035?
Ooh.
So we're looking into food, sustainable cities, sustainable industry, AI. So given topics covered today, what's the worst case scenario in 2035? Share that in the Menti and
No, in the chat.
no, in the Menti.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, actually, the chat is for the feelings for the baby builder, and we're using Menti because we're circling back to the Menti. I'll be back in a few hours when we're wrapping up, and we'll look at the Menti.
We will.
Yeah. So thanks.
Thank you, Joakim. Insightful, a bit of a stomach ache, but that's fine. We will see you later.
Yeah.